Hello and good morning. Welcome back to another update of Utah real estate market. Let's dive into it and see what we've got going on. We are at 13,518 as far as how many homes are on the market. We did go up just a little bit from yesterday. We have yesterday's how many homes came available, and this is up until right now. We are Friday the 3rd, October 3rd, and it was 9:40 in the morning is where we are right now. We're at 298 here. As far as the average days on market, we're staying kind of steady around that 64. These are the average sold prices. It's a little different than the median sold price that I look at sometimes. The number of sales we've had over the last month. This is from the last month is what we've been looking at as far as the last 30 days, I guess, is really what we're looking at. Also, so this is the median number that I look at a lot of times. Granted, in October here, we're only at 197, so we haven't hit very many homes. September, we did hit the 3,204 as things have been getting updated and finalized. Sometimes people take a couple days to be able to really get that final number in there, but that's where we're at as far as what happened in September. And then I did want to open up this one as well. This is kind of just a little daily snapshot. This is just a week, so we've got the 26th until the 3rd that we've just been playing in with these dates here. This is compared from last year's the same time last year, and so you've got the previous year in the black, and then the blue one is this current year. So how many active homes we have on the market? That is a huge difference there. That has made a big jump compared, and they've kind of been in the same. You've got the same kind of curve a little bit with it. And we've got, okay, these are in the backup, homes in the backup. Once again, blue is current and the black was last year. These are the under contract. So if you flip it from going the blue one being on the top, you have now the blue one being on the bottom. So we have less under contract than we did last year. Just like 200 difference, which isn't a huge, I think in the grand scheme of things, probably not the biggest of difference, but that is a change there from the previous year. How many withdrawn? We do have more that have withdrawn than previous year. And then this one is our active with no show. So we did have quite a few go into active with no show over the last into 2024. That last kind of but we've had less come in. And granted, these are day to day, so I don't know the active no show is that's really something to make a huge difference with, but it is a little bit of a difference where that's active with the no show. So the buyers, or sorry, the sellers are kind of like, let's just wait off for a little bit. So we've had less of those kind of occur, which has been good. But there's a potential that they're also just kind of taking it completely off the market. So, and then this is the sold ones. And so granted, this is within a week. And so if you look at these 2 days, this is probably Saturday and a Sunday, where the black one here was a Saturday and Sunday. And so what you're looking at now is just, so think of those as just kind of lining up those Saturdays and Sundays together. We did have a big spike last year on that Monday, whereas the last Monday and Tuesday, we had kind of a little bit going up, but then it's kind of stayed steady over the last few days. And then today, obviously, I wouldn't look at that today's because we're still, only one have sold. Well, it's the morning. So I'm sure as the afternoon goes, we'll get a few more that will have closed on this day. But just a little bit less is sold than previous. We're at for this day compared to that, which is a day off. But 153 to currently 118 on that day. But it's kind of staying steady with it. So let's also look at, this is one thing that I was looking at as well. I wanted to kind of dive into. And so this green is the number of homes listed. And so this is last year's second quarter, and this is this year's second quarter, where this 14,521, that is last year's third quarter. And right here is this year's current third quarter, which we did just kind of finish as we have October, November, December, as those last, for fourth quarter. So we're looking at what has sold, in second quarter versus third quarter, and then this year's second quarter versus third quarter. And the percentage of change that I'm looking at right here. So the percentage of change was 9%. So we had 9% more homes pop onto the market from second quarter of last year versus second quarter of this year. But as far as how many homes that we actually had sell for, sorry, second quarter of last year versus second quarter of this year, that percentage of change went up 4%. So we did have 4% more 4% more homes sell this second quarter than versus the second quarter of last year, but we had so many more homes, 9% increase of homes that were actually available on the market. So that kind of was like worrying during that second quarter. We had so many more homes come onto the market, but not as many that were not they weren't selling at the same rate that they were coming onto the market. And so we have seen a little bit of dip with those prices, just a little bit there. Um, but there's also, I wanted to look at also this last quarter that we just finished. So third quarter versus third quarter here, we had a 2.94% change. So we had 2.94 more homes come onto the market from second quarter of last year, or sorry, third quarter last year, third quarter this year. But with the amount of homes that were sold was actually a 3.3% increase. And so we did during the third quarter of this year compared to last year, we had more homes sell than we had homes come onto the market. Just a slight percentage, but that has kind of shown in that basic number where we're at 13,518, and that has dropped a little bit and it's not continued to just continue to grow with it. And the active homes have reduced compared to when it was like, 13,800 or so. So just a little bit of change there, not too much that really makes a huge difference, I think, but just a slight difference. So it'll be interesting to see over this next quarter what really happens. I do feel that if you are in the market to purchase, that it would be a great time to be able to jump in. Interest rates were kind of staying steady, but it hasn't been in the 7 or the 8%, which has been better than the last couple years that we've seen. Let's actually look at that a little bit here. Let's dive into, let me scroll this up and we'll look at the last few years that we've had during this time. So we did see in 2024, we did see a drop that happened in that October, and that was right before the elections were happening. It popped up right before the actual election happened, kind of went back up into, let's look at the 30-year fixed, 7.09, November 1st. And so, but we're kind of back down just a little bit in that September and then October. We did have a little bit of a drop that was like September 5th, and then it kind of went back up, and now we're just kind of staying steady. That drop happened right before the Fed announced that it was going to be dropping the Fed rate. So that drop happened, and then the Fed rate announced that we're dropping it, and then ours kind of creeped up. The mortgage rate creeped up just a little bit, but it's staying steady, so that's good. But it hasn't been, where we were in the October and, in that 8% was October of 2023. So 2 years ago, it was absolutely wild how high that was. And so we have seen a little bit of a drop compared to this last whole year that we've been in. So if you are looking to purchase, right now would be a good time over these next few months, because the home prices are going to be you'll find better deals in the wintertime, because a lot of times the sellers that are selling during the wintertime usually are not wanting to sell during the wintertime. And so it's kind of more of a necessity or a need that they are looking to be able to sell their home during those months. Whereas, those buyers coming in, you might be able to find a better deal during that time. So anyway, reach out. Let's talk more. Feel free to give me a call, text me at the number below, and we can be able to figure out what's best for you in your situation, because everybody has different situations and their needs. But feel free to reach out and we can be able to dive into what you need and what can be able to help you out best. Have a great day.